Let's talk about Travis Kelce saying Orlando Brown Jr. went to the dark side, the Chiefs voting yes to flex Thursday night football games, a potential DeAndre Hopkins release, apparently, Tim Patrick calling the Raiders a group of fake thugs, and much freaking more. But first, how about those? First up, the young buck from Greece turned 22 years old today, if you consider 22 old, which I do not, but happy birthday to George Karlaftis, who is no longer a rookie, but in his rookie year played in all 17 games, accumulating 33 tackles, 8 for loss, 11 QB hits, 7 passes defense, thanks to his past water polo training, 2 fumble recoveries, and 6 sacks. 5 more than the average man. Hope you had a great freaking day. Happy birthday to you. And here's some more good news. Last Friday, the Chiefs signed safety Deon Bush to a 1-year deal, which basically rounds out the safety room to include Justin Reed, Brian Cook, Najee Johnson, the newly signed safety Mike Edwards, formerly of the Bucs, and finally Deon Bush, the veteran special teamer who logged the second most snaps on the team, only behind cornerback Chris Lamons. The top 3, actually in order of special team snaps, were Chris Lamons, 322, Deon Bush, 317, and Noah Gray, 282. And with Bush's return, I feel like this puts the Chiefs in a great position pre-draft at the safety position. They do not have to make any real additions here. However, if some safety that they are high on falls in the draft, they could take a swing, but they are not forced to, which allows them to keep their eyes on other positions of need, and you gotta love it. Anyway, with the re-signing of safety Deon Bush, the Chiefs re-signees are now Bush, Blake Bell, Nick Allegretti, and Derek Naughty. And then on the New Heights podcast, Travis Kelce recently spoke his thoughts when he saw Orlando Brown Jr. was getting signed or signing a deal with the Bengals, referring to them as going to the dark side. He said this, quote, it hurts my soul, man. Hurts my soul. It's like watching your best friend just turn evil on you. The past 2 years, we've struggled beating the Bengals, so there's been a lot of buildup and emotion of I would say not necessarily hate, but just dislike towards the Bengals because they keep beating us and keep talking about it every time they do. So it's man, to see him go to the dark side, it's an awkward feeling, obviously. I hope that he has an absolute Hall of Fame career. You know what I mean? I wish nothing but the best for OB. He was an unbelievable leader, an unbelievable teammate on and off the field. End quote. So yeah, it was an unexpected signing when it happened. We could probably all agree on that. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs decided to move on from Orlando when they opted not to franchise tag him, something Orlando noted himself in an interview with Rich Eisen when he said something to that effect, that he knew the Chiefs were looking to move on when they didn't franchise tag him. And so I don't really blame the guy for going to another competitive organization and getting a pretty decent payday. While it may not have been quite the payday the Chiefs offered him last season, it's still a payday nonetheless. However, I understand why some players would share Kelce's sentiment about him signing with the Bengals and them being the dark side, aka the enemy. But speaking of dark side, it reminds me of coffee, to which my Beans of Benchwarmer brew. It's not a dark roast, but an excellent tasting medium roast with origins of Mexico and Ethiopia and flavor notes of chocolate and citrus. Brandon Perna himself said he really enjoys the roast.
Your blend is really good. It's legit, a really good blend.
So go ahead and take his word for it if Broncos fans' word means anything to you these days, or just take my word for it. It's really good by going to coffee.hbtchiefs.com and get some of yours today. And speaking of the Broncos, it was announced today that they will be revealing a new alternate helmet later this offseason, and an inside source went ahead and leaked the alt helmets, and they're going to look like this, okay? Only they're going to be white, which is only fitting, a big fat L on that nasty little white helmet for an organization that's owned by Walmart and Patrick LaVon Mahomes II, and continues taking nothing but L's since 2015, a long time ago in a land far away. All right, maybe this design was actually made by Clay Windler of Red Tribe Cinema, who makes great Chiefs content. Make sure to check out his videos if you haven't already, link in description. But I thought it was worth sharing such a beautiful, wonderful display of art with you all. Anyway, let's move on here. Next up, last week it was announced that NFL owners decided to allow teams to play more than one Thursday night football game a year, though they tabled flex scheduling until May and will decide then. But what that currently means is teams can now play up to 2 Thursday night football games, and that's excluding opening night, Thanksgiving, and whatever other holiday they play Thursday on that's escaping my mind right now. But they can now play up to 2 Thursday night football games, excluding those holidays, making their weeks much shorter, only 3 days rest, and many players were not happy about this change, including Patrick Mahomes, Justin Reed, MVS, and many other current and former players around the league, with the reason being this didn't seem like player safety was being taken into consideration, something that the NFL says they are constantly trying to improve on. And when asked about this exact thing, player safety, good old Roger Goodell weighed in saying this.
I don't think we are putting Amazon over players' interests. I think we have data that's very clear. It doesn't show higher injury rate. I hear from a lot of players directly too. They love the 10 days afterwards.
Okay, so according to him, injuries don't increase on such short turnarounds. And he's talked with players who actually like short weeks in exchange for a mini buy of 10 days. However, I think Roger is not being completely honest here, and he really likes the money. Something else I found interesting from a report today regarding this situation, according to Jeff Kerr, is that the Chiefs were actually among the teams who voted yes for flex scheduling of Thursday Night Football, which is a bit surprising given all the Chiefs players speaking out about it. But at the end of the day, the ownership and the players will not always see eye to eye, though Clark Hunt apparently stepped in and offered a compromise of only 2 Thursday night flexes rather than 4. So that's a bit better, I guess, though I would assume the Chiefs would be on the short list of teams that could get flexed to a Thursday night game. So you guys got to let me know, what do you think about teams being able to play more than one Thursday night game, and also the potential ability of games getting flexed to Thursday nights? Is this a player safety issue like players are saying, or do you believe Roger, I love lots of money, Goodell? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments down below, and we got to move on from this to another not divisive at all topic within Chiefs Kingdom, and that is about what the Chiefs should be doing at the wide receiver position at this given moment right freaking now. Some say Odell. Sign Odell, although it was reported that the Ravens today have offered him a contract with the Jets and possibly the Rams also being in the mix. And then some say to trade for DeAndre Hopkins. And there was an interesting report that surfaced today with a potential update on the DHop situation per Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, and that is the Arizona Cardinals may potentially be releasing him, or at least that's what some NFL teams think the Cardinals will be doing with Hopkins due to the lack of interest in trading for his contract, and why some will be opting to wait and see what happens with all of this. So basically, long story short, Albert Breer appeared on the Greg Bedard podcast saying that some teams think the Cardinals will wind up cutting him, and that, quote, his market is not that great right now. And we know the Cardinals recently gave NFL teams permission to speak with Hopkins in his camp, and Hopkins, set to make around $34 million on the next 2 years of his current deal, has a considerable amount of say in where he ends up going or what ends up happening. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen here with DHop, but Albert Breer did specifically mention the Kansas City Chiefs as an option, stating that they would need him to take a, quote, significant pay cut in order to trade for him. Breer agreed that the Chiefs would need to offer a low-end deal similar to the one Juju Smith-Schuster signed with them a year ago. So round and round we go about DeAndre Hopkins, but it would definitely be interesting if he ended up getting cut from the Cardinals. If that happens, though, I would expect him to have many teams interested. And then another wide receiver getting mentioned alongside the Chiefs is the Rams veteran Allen Robinson, Christopher Knox. He mentions him as an option if the Chiefs don't end up landing DHop, a backup plan if they feel they need a bit more ammunition at the wide receiver position even after the draft. Sure, Robinson did have 102 catches for 1,250 yards and 6 TDs with the Bears back in 2020, and Matt Nagy at the time was the head coach then, the Chiefs OC now, so there's a connection there. However, back in November, he had season-ending foot surgery, and on top of that, he has struggled to produce since his 1,250-yard season in 2020. In the last 2 seasons combined, he has a total of around 750 yards and 4 touchdowns, and will also be 30 this year. We know Brett Veach loves wide receivers over the age of 30, so while he is an option the Chiefs could pursue if the Rams wish to offload him this season for a late-round pick or something, I'm not sure the Chiefs will place a ton of hope in said trade other than for some veteran depth in an offense where Mahomes can draw the best out of receivers all day long. And on the subject of receivers, we got to talk about another one, and that is Broncos wide receiver Tim Patrick, because he made an interesting comment today, or actually it was yesterday, about the Chiefs, and a hilarious comment about the Raiders, and therefore we got to talk about it. And in case you don't know who Tim Patrick is, he's been with the Broncos since 2017, getting playing time with them in 2018, and he's pretty much progressed every year, bit by bit, a couple 300-yard seasons, a couple 700-yard seasons. But then in training camp this past season, he tore his ACL and missed the entire season. Well, he had an interview with Broncos Avenue yesterday, and here's what he had to say about the Chiefs.
I don't like either of them, honestly. They both do it in different ways. The Chiefs do it in a cocky way. They have every right to be cocky, but
I mean, yeah, after 15 wins in a row, the Chiefs have every right to be cocky. Makes sense. But what he says next about the Raiders is pure gold.
to be cocky and not good is like, it rubs me the wrong way. Then you try to throw in tough guy with it. It rubs me the wrong way.
To be cocky and not good, i.e. the Raiders, is an absolutely eloquent description, but he's not done there.
Chiefs are cocky little shits. Raiders, it's a group of fake thugs. It's just...
Yes, your ears did not deceive you. He said the Raiders are a group of fake thugs, which definitely cancels out what he said about the Chiefs, so we will forgive him for that, but I definitely appreciate the honesty here. It did catch me off guard how open and honest this man was about both of these teams, especially the Raiders. So yeah, I found that at least worth bringing up to you guys because I thought you would find it as entertaining as I. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?